I'm Chris Story. You're listening to Radio Realty, what my mom calls the greatest show on earth. You can listen back to this program at radiorealty.us. Radiorealty.us. People ask me why I didn't get .com. Well, first of all, it was taken by somebody that just parked on it. Secondly, what is more patriotic than a website that says .us, United States of America? Welcome to the program. So excited. In the green room warming up is Mr. Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman. We're going to talk about Proposition 1. You maybe have noticed the onslaught of signs that sound too good to oppose. They say it's our oil. Don't give away our oil. Has it sold you? Have those signs sold you yet on Proposition 1? And will Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman's position on Proposition 1, will it surprise you? Well, you'll have to hold on and find out. And a little bit later, I want to remind you that Mr. Dan Metke, this is very serious. We've got fire danger. I believe it's high. We're going to find out from the fire department here in Homer what you on the peninsula and elsewhere around the state need to consider when you are approaching your campfires and all the great things that are coming up here in Alaska. There's danger that can come with a lot of that fun. So we're going to ask you to hang on and listen to fireman Dan Metke. He's an expert on the subject. Without further ado, I want to jump straight into the mind of former Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman. I think you get that title for life, don't you, Loren? Isn't that something that you'll be have until you're senator or something?
Until I take another office, I think so, and
all right,
and that's okay.
Yeah, you earned it and deserve it, sir. Thank you for being here. As I just set up there, Proposition 1, the signs are starting to make their way around the state, and they're calling it, it's our oil, don't give away our oil, and so forth. A little bit of background, though, if you would, please. It's my understanding, and see if you and I agree on this, that last year the legislative session gave us a new reform on oil taxes called Senate Bill 21. And if that's the case, in your opinion, sir, what net effect did that have on Alaska and oil exploration and potential oil in the pipeline, SB 21?
Okay, I can give you just sort of a broad brush of what the Senate bill did, and then what we've seen in Alaska as the impact from that from the time that it's been in effect.
Excellent.
What it did is the main things it did is it removed the so-called progressivity escalators that were in it at high oil prices, and and our oil. First of all, we should go back and just remind people that our oil taxes are primarily based. Well, there's a complex set of oil taxes, but the ones we're talking about right here are based on net profits, and so the base rate previously was 25%, and then there's these escalators. So as oil prices got up to, say, in the stratosphere, up at $140 a barrel, and these would kick in, and it would increase the taxes. Now the downside to the investors in the oil industry were that when that happens, the rate applies to all the oil produced, not just the incremental part that was over and beyond. So you stop and think about it. If you're paying your own taxes, you pay so much on the first, whatever, $100,000, and then another rate on the next, and like that. But if the IRS said, oh, by the way, if you ever get to the 39.6% tax rate, that applies to everything.
Mm-hmm.
Boy, that would be a horrendously larger tax bite, and that is what was happening, and there was a tremendous disincentive for new investment.
So just to recap that, in other words, that kind of progressive tax was having an impact on the behavior of the oil companies, and that was, to a certain extent, limiting their reinvestment then.
Yeah, and so they would look elsewhere for better opportunity, and so Alaska wasn't on the receiving end. Now, I'm going to just tell you that, I spent 14 years in the legislature and 4 as lieutenant governor, and I really believe we ought to stand up for Alaska, and Alaska ought to get its fair share. We ought to be competitive in the world marketplace, and that's an oath of office I took, is that we need to look out for our shareholders. That would be Alaskans. Now, having said that, what is the best way to do it? And that would be that we need to attract the investment so the production of our resources increases. And it turns out if you inspire or encourage investment, which the legislature went back and said, okay, and first of all, they addressed an issue that I said many, many years ago we ought to address. What happens when oil prices drop? How can we be protected better? So they went back and protected Alaska on the lower end, and they increased that, what was 25% of net profits, up to a base of 35%. So we're better protected at the low end, and they adjusted the progressivity at the high end. Now, as it turns out, those, the naysayers were saying, oh, it's $1 billion giveaway. Well, it turns out this last year, based on where oil prices are, under the new regime, we actually got slightly more, is my understanding, but slightly more income than we would have had under the old tax rate. But because of how it's structured, there's the encouragement or the incentive for the new investment. And then there's also what's called a per barrel credit, which means it's a reduction, you could say reduction after production. Mm-hmm. In other words, you have to produce before you get the benefit. And, of course, when the barrel of oil is produced, Alaska gets the benefit as well.
All right. Now, passing Senate Bill 21, what is, from your position, what have you seen relative to that reinvestment? Obviously, we've garnered a little bit more money, but what about the reinvestment side of that coin? Is it having the net benefit that they sought in the Senate?
Well, it is. And I've been in capital project presentations with ConocoPhillips. I met with BP. I've had some conversations with ExxonMobil, and I've had a number of conversations with smaller companies. There've been several, that are coming into the state, whether it's Repsol or Uri or just a number, Brooks Range, ENI, a number of investors coming in, and they all are saying business investment is up. There's greater commitments. There's a sort of a sense of, or an encouraging sense of investment. And and I've seen evidences of companies hiring more people. It just seems like the marketplace. I don't want to base things on excitement, because that's probably not a good thing to do it, but to base it on. But the marketplace is enthusiastic, and people are being hired. There's jobs have been created, and so my opinion is, when I look at it, the net benefit is positive for Alaska, and other companies are doing well as well.
All right. And is it really your oil? And what does that mean? And should you and I all then just get oil derricks and start drilling at our own backyard to fulfill the mission of Radio Realty, to become a millionaire in your own backyard? Well, we'll ask Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman that when we return here to Radio Realty. I'm Chris Story, and we're holding the line open here for Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman, former Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman. We're talking about Proposition 1. It's on the table at the moment that sometime in August, August 19th in the primary, you'll have an opportunity to weigh in on this. Lieutenant Governor Leman, it seems to me that we've, through our conversation today, determined that you, like myself, realize, or at least we're observing the net effect being positive of the passage of Senate Bill 21 last year. And so let me ask you this question that we left off with a moment ago. Is it our oil? In other words, the way that it's being used to portray this giveaway, quote, giveaway, it's as though somebody reached into your refrigerator and gave away the last of your mayonnaise or something that you've already procured. If it's our oil and it stays in the ground, it does us no good. And I think that's what I find so, just so absurd about that concept, that it's your oil and they're getting it for free. They've got to make billions of dollars in investment here.
Oh, that's correct. We have to have a partnership. It is our oil, the state of Alaska, but the only way we can create economic benefit from it is to put it into the marketplace or let people bid on it and make the investment, and they in turn have to make money as well.
Right.
And, they're going to do this in other jurisdictions. Let's look at North Dakota.
That's right.
They have an incredible economy going on because of new investment, and they've changed their tax structure to make it appealing. Would we like to have a booming economy like that? I think so.
I do too. And here's the thing that I believe that a lot of these companies, larger or the small and the mid-market and the mid-cap companies that are coming in, can wait and say, okay, tell you what, we're going to go down to North Dakota. We're going to go down to other areas right now, and we're going to take advantage of the boom and everything that's happening there and the favorable tax rates and so forth. And we know that oil's going to be there when we come back. We'll see y'all in about 10 years. And meanwhile, we'll have to suffer through the drought, as it were, economically speaking.
Yeah, and our oil, we're producing now about 500,000 barrels a day going through the pipeline, and it will drop to 300,000. Okay, will that have an impact? Absolutely. We can't allow that to happen. We should have been allowed to get in the coastal plain of ANWR. It's unfortunate that some of the work out in the Chukchi has been delayed, but we are going to have to do all kinds of things to fill our pipeline if our children, and now I have a few grandchildren, if they're going to have an opportunity in Alaska like I've had for the last 40 years of being able to be an engineer and do work, because our economy is, if I can dare to use this pun, fueled largely by oil.
That's right.
And other resources, but oil has really had a big impact on Alaska. But your listeners need to understand, this has not been a giveaway. I mean, that just because people say it is doesn't make it true.
Right.
Just because they say there's global warming doesn't make it true. If the evidence says that for the last 15 years, science shows that there's been cooling, a net cooling. Okay, except for in Homer or, and we do have some localized, I think we can say here in at least South Central Alaska, it's been warmer. But net global-wise, it hasn't. But yet, what do you hear in the media? The constant drivel of, this is true. Well, so sooner or later, people start believing the lie rather than the truth. And I would just encourage people to actually look at the truth. If you don't have to believe me, but look at what Scott Goldsmith, who is a very respected economist, has said recently. He studied this. He does this work for the University of Alaska, and he is saying, essentially, there is no giveaway. This is working as intended. It's improved the investment climate. The investment climate is producing something. There's a net benefit to Alaska, plus Alaskans are working. Bottom line, it was a good move.
From people that you're talking to, just in summation here, Loren, people that you're talking to and the word on the street that you're hearing and the buzz in your ear, you think Prop 1 will pass or fail, your prediction?
Well, it will. I think those who poll, at least initially, say that it was close, that it could win. I think it was, I don't remember the numbers I saw, but it was enough of a threat that it's going to take a substantial campaign of information to counter the misinformation.
Yeah.
And I would say I expect the proposition to fail.
Good.
But it's like anything. If you're not vigilant and projecting truth, then what happens? It backfills with information that's incorrect. So that's why I believe it's important to have forums like you're creating today, and just let people know that there is good information out available, and I would encourage people to go look at it.
Excellent. Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman, thank you, sir, and looking forward to talking to you again in the near future. Really appreciate your time.
Thanks for the call. Good to be with you.
Yes, sir. What an expert on the subject, and just such a thoughtful and well-spoken man. Really like Lieutenant Governor Loren Leman. I'm Chris Story. We'll be back with Dan Metke here on Radio Realty.
I live my life like an old dirt road. It's kind of bumpy, so I'll roll slow. I'm sure there's plenty of the ways to go. This way's all I care to know. Now you can keep your finer things. Yeah, I'm happy in my blue jeans. I'm satisfied just to get by in my simple life. And I believe in the Lord above. I love my mama in my pickup truck. I don't hide it, no, I won't lie. Redneck till old blue collar